It's like a 665, don't be intimidated, I'm not violent. Just really ready to be violent.
I forgot to mention just how much better the light is in here. Granted, I don't have any lights coming straight this way yet, but we'll get that figured out. I mean, when it's sunny outside, it matters. Good morning! Just launched straight into it there, didn't I? Today I wanted to talk a little bit more in depth about vlogging, why it's important to me, what it means to me, all of it. So there were a couple of questions that came through comments that made me think I could probably dive a little deeper into this, and I wanted to kind of give myself a little bit of a break today, so I thought we'd do a talking head video, and I got some other stuff done. I didn't really take a full break, so I got some work done. For those of you who are on Patreon, you'll notice for everybody, I'll put a link below. There's a public food poll going right now, so if you want to choose where I go have a picnic in the not too distant future, you can do that. It's open to the public. You don't have to be a patron, but if you do want to become a patron, you can get some new digital wallpapers from some of my drone photography over the last, week or so. There's Irish wallpapers, and I did a whole bunch of different stuff with them this time. I thought I'd try some new things, so let me know what you think about that, of course, as well. Not to mention that we've got postcards coming up, not postcards, but the disposable camera stuff to deal with. A lot of interesting stuff going on. We'll get to it. But today, like I said, I thought I would talk just a little bit about the importance of vlogging for me, what it has meant to me, and kind of also use this as a chance to catch some of you up on things you might not realize. Kevin, it was nice to meet you today, by the way. Had a question for you. I need to make sure to send you a note. But I can ask that question in general too. This is the scattered start. We'll focus in here in just a second. But for those of you who have visited Paris or interested in visiting Paris, if I haven't made a video about it yet, what is the one thing that you wish somebody would make a video about to help explain things to you a little bit better? I do need to get more into that. Is a really pretty bird. What are things that you'd like to know more about Paris, traveling here, living here, whatever it is? I need to get back into French Friday. I have a whole bunch that I've skipped because life has been nuts. I really want to just hammer out a whole bunch, especially as tourist season kicks in. I would like more people to be able to find me, and that's a good way of people finding me. I don't want to become known for tourism in Paris. That's not like the cornerstone of what I'm trying to do with my life here. But I am happy to make helpful things, and I definitely want to make more French Fridays, so I need to get on top of that. In the meantime, vlogging. Why even bother? Why bother with this chair either? When I started vlogging, a year and a half ago, this kind of comes from a comment that was left in regards, was it Margot? I can't remember who it was. I'm sorry that I'm forgetting in the moment. Feel free to take credit below. Kind of like being grateful for whatever it was that inspired me to start vlogging. So why I vlog in kind of a more historical sense is not that complicated. There were a lot of personal reasons to do it. I've been posting a photo online every day. If you don't follow me on Instagram already, you can open it up, Jay Swanson. Really easy to find me on Instagram. I've been posting a photo every day on Instagram since it was launched for Android, and then before that on Facebook and Twitter, I think. Just to kind of document my life. When I moved to South Africa, tell my family and friends what I was doing, where I was doing it. It was kind of similar to how patrons support me now. I was on a support basis then as well with the volunteer work I was doing in West and Central Africa. So I was like, this is a great way to keep everybody apprised of what I'm doing on a regular basis. Posted a photo every day for a really long time and realized this isn't enough. I'm not really telling the stories of what's going on as much as I would like to be doing, and I'm losing a lot of them. I also had let video go in a lot of ways. Like I dropped video from my regular repertoire. I still made some videos like for Mercy Ships and for others internally, and would make some for myself here and there. I vlogged back in the day in the Vlogbrothers style when I lived here, and then in the Congo, I made some videos as I went. But they obviously weren't what I do now by any means. And of course, one of the really big inspirations to really launch myself into it was Casey Neistat. Obviously, I've given him credit a whole bunch, and I'll continue to do so. And someday, there will be a reckoning when his fan base discovers that I exist and they all call me a clone or whatever else they're gonna call me. What he was doing, the amount of work he was putting in, the effort he was putting in, the product that he was creating, just the idea that you could take a filmmaking skill set and turn it towards vlogging was mind-blowing. And I think so many people had the same thought that I had, which is, why didn't I think of this already? Like, why am I not already doing this? And so I launched myself into it. A little bit, I experimented, I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun creating something. It was a really cool format. It's one that I kept and built on and grew my own style out of, but I definitely fit within the Casey subgenre of vlogging. And for me, what was so important, this is kind of the history of what led me to it, but when I started vlogging daily, it was partially because I was hitting 2,000 photos on my daily photo thing, and I was like, I want to make sure that I up the game. I want to do something more. I want to document my life better. But I also was in a really dark and depressed place where I needed something to get me through. I needed a creative outlet. I needed something that was just for me. I could share with my friends and family, that I could share with the world, that I could hopefully reach out to a community outside of the city that I was in at the time, because I really hated that city and I didn't like living there. I didn't feel supported. I didn't feel understood. And I just wanted to make a connection with anyone else out there that might at least remotely understand what I was trying to do and why. And so when I started vlogging on a regular basis, it was also kind of a cry for help. Like, not directly or intentionally. It wasn't like I was, I don't know that I was actually looking for anyone's help, but I was definitely in need of help. And the interaction that I got there was good, but I think that's also part of the thing I was talking with Kevin about today, and and Oliver actually too, was this recognition that there was no real validation in what I was doing from outside the usual suspects. I talked about how Jeff has watched ever since the beginning, and he's watched every episode. My dad has watched from the beginning, and he's watched every episode. There are certain people that have been really, really deeply involved in this project from the beginning, without whom things would not have gone anywhere. The thing is that, of course, when you're putting as much work as I was into it, and you're hoping that it goes somewhere, you're hoping to grow an audience. I mean, I vlog because I want to grow an audience ultimately for my writing. I know that I need to grow an audience if I'm ever going to survive as a writer, and YouTube's just too much fun to stop doing anyways. After putting in a year's worth of work and barely growing my subscriber count, I think I had maybe 800 subscribers by the time I finished my first season of vlogging. There definitely was along that road, especially when there were a couple months in there where I didn't earn a single new subscriber. Like, imagine making a video every day for 2 months and not getting a single new subscriber. I definitely questioned what I was doing and wondered why was I doing it. And what I always came back to, and the reason that I kept doing it and I didn't really care if nobody watched, was because there was definitely a level of personal development involved, like a level of satisfaction to get to the end of every day and have had created something, have told a story, have developed my storytelling ability just one step further, that I loved doing it and wanted to keep doing it no matter what. But I definitely needed a break at the end of that year because I was like, what am I doing and why? And then during that break is when I crossed 1,000 subscribers, which was a huge landmark. It happened without me actively making very many videos, if any, really. And I was like, I need to get back into this. Like, I need to really do this. And I needed to do it more for myself than anything, but I recognized, okay, like there's something here. I mean, looking back on the whole process, if anybody were to ask me if they should get into doing what I'm doing, making a video every day, I would say no. Like, it's ridiculous. This is so hard. There's so much work involved. But for me personally, absolutely, because I love it. I need it. I enjoy the interaction with you, but I also just enjoy creating something and having the framework, like a creative framework every day to think, okay, like, how am I going to approach today? Like, I have to be at least somewhat intentional with every day. And there's not a day that I can waste. And I really, really, really like that. I'm really, really fortunate to have this. So that brings us to today. Vlogging to me also means a lot because I don't watch very many other vlogs. I don't watch very many other YouTubers very closely, largely because I don't feel like I'm really getting to know them. I don't really feel like I'm understanding them as well as I would like to, or I just don't, necessarily get anything out of their content. I don't expect everybody who tunes in and watches one or two of my videos to stick around forever. I don't think that anybody makes something that pleases everybody. That's impossible, right? So you have to make content that you would enjoy and hope that there are other people out there like you that would enjoy it. I think that's what's really important. But I also think it's really, really, really important for me then to maintain a sense of honesty and transparency with everything I do. There's a weird thing that's happening now too. We're at 196 patrons right now, which is amazing. The community over on Patreon has changed my life. I actually just wrote Patreon an email hoping to meet with one or two of them, somebody from them, to talk with them at VidCon in Anaheim. What's crazy about it is that we're getting to a place now. It used to be that I knew every one of my patrons by name. Like, I knew every one of them. We interacted, just like I know so many of you by name who comment regularly. It helps when you have an avatar and one that stays consistent across platforms. But I mean, we're getting to a place where I don't necessarily know who anyone is anymore. And those are scary times where you get into, like, I'm still really small on YouTube, but you get to that place where maybe you don't know everybody, you don't know how to keep track of everybody, you don't know how to maintain contact with everybody. And I know for me, there's a growing sense of like a fear that there will be walls that go up that won't be scalable anymore. And I want to maintain a level of availability while at the same time maintaining a level of sanity. And so as like the vlog and as everything changes, like, and moving forward, I've talked about wanting to regain a sense of structure and to return to things like French Friday and other things that are lacking a little bit right now from the vlog. I also want to be able to talk openly and honestly about the weirdness of vlogging, about interacting with people, about fame, assuming that fame happens in some small ways. I've got a little bit of micro fame going on. I get recognized in the street a couple times a week, and it's good and it's fun. Like I've only had one or two really awkward interactions, and my goal would not be to highlight any particular awkward interaction or call anybody out, but to explain kind of what's going on in here with the whole experience, because I feel like once people attain a certain level of success or fame, they shut things down because they're scared to be honest. They're scared to talk about what's hard or weird or awkward, talk about what's good. I think people just get scared, and I don't want to be scared. Like, I want to be able to maintain that level of honesty as well with the growth. And that's another realm of subject matter that I think is relatively taboo, that I would like to keep open personally, because I don't want that to become taboo for me. So that's another thing to be thinking about. There's a lot of stuff going on for me right now, and that got a little bit rambly there for a second, so sorry about that. But I think the key for me is to recognize that for me, vlogging is really important, because like, I don't want to miss anything. Like today, I don't need to film everything. Today, I haven't filmed anything. I went to the Peloton for a little bit, grabbed lunch with Phil, saw some really weird parade cars going, I don't know, weird stuff. I can put the camera down. Like, I really can put it down. I can focus on the people in front of me. I can focus on life around me. That's not a problem. I'm not worried about that. I am worried about getting enough sleep sometimes. I really like vlogging for a lot of personal reasons. I'm growing, I'm changing, I'm learning. There's so much good stuff that's coming from vlogging for me personally that I don't want to stop anytime soon. I just need to find some good balance with it. And so it means a lot to me in that, like, it did pretty much save my life when I was living in Spokane. Like, it gave me a lifeline that kept me going and gave me some purpose and gave me some creative outlet, gave me a lot in that time. It's documented my life moving to Paris, hopefully well. It's introduced me to a lot of very interesting people that I'm very, very grateful for. It's opening a lot of doors. It's changing my life. Patreon is changing my life. You're changing my life. Like, this whole experience is good. Overall, very good. It just has its weird moments where I need to process. And I think I would like to start processing those more actively on the vlog as well, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it'd be interesting to see inside my head a little bit on those things, but also because I want you along for the ride, because I don't want a gap to open between myself and you as a viewer, because naturally as a viewer, this is already often a fairly one-sided relationship, but there's only a potential for it to get weirder if I don't talk about stuff as it's happening and as I'm learning and as I'm growing. Because if I don't, then what's going to happen is a year down the road from here, my life will have changed dramatically. I won't have talked about certain subjects along the way, and it'll feel like we're really jumping the gun to talk about them later. Like, what happens if, crazy town for a moment, what happens if my channel explodes and all of a sudden I have 1 million subscribers within a year, something like that? It's possible. It's very unlikely, but it's possible. And I haven't talked at all about growth or the weirdness of internet fame or where I want to be, where I want to go, how my interactions are changing, what's happening, like how perceptions change, how people treat you differently, anything like that. And then all of a sudden I want to talk about it, but I'm at 1 million. I can see how that I would feel shackled by that growth and by that success and not able to talk about that for fear of losing it somehow. And so I'd rather all those things be incorporated just into what the vlog is about, so that when we get there, it's perfectly natural and normal for me to be honest about, like, I had this really weird interaction where somebody accused me of having a fake beard on the internet, whatever it is. And it's not out of left field when it happens. Don't want to start throwing too many sports analogies in there, but you get what I mean. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about today. I wanted to share that. Thank you for being a part of this. It's really, really important to me. It's been life-changing. The fact that a year ago I was struggling just to eat, literally just working nonstop to put food on the table, to now being able to take a step back, start asking myself, where do I want to be spending my time? What do I want to be growing? How do I want to bring you along with it? Like, to be able to go with my friends to the Netherlands or to Ireland, like to make these trips, to do these things, like these weren't possibilities a year ago. So thank you for making them possible. Really appreciate it. Anywho, that is my my heartfelt talking head video. Tomorrow we'll do a little bit of a Mercy Ships Monday. If you're not on Patreon already, Oliver and I were talking about this today, about doing a better job of pitching our Patreons every once in a while. I'm not going to overdo it, but I did a little bit at the beginning there. And just remember that if you jump on Patreon, not only do you get to vote on decisions I make with my life, but that's also where you're going to end up getting postcards, digital downloads, get a free copy of one of my books, all sorts of good stuff. So don't hesitate to jump on that. And I will try to do a better job of pitching. My patrons, ironically, are the ones that want me to pitch Patreon more. They're the ones that talk to me the most about it. So I will try to do a better job of every week having like a solid and not boring but interesting Patreon pitch. And we'll talk about that too. I want to talk about this. I know I don't have to talk about everything, all my decision making, whatever, but I want things to be on the table. I just want to grow on camera. I want all this to happen on camera so that there's a record of it, and that we're on the same page and you know how big of a part of it you've been. I don't know. I just don't want it to be weird. Let me know if it's weird in the comments below. I'm gonna like eat dinner and relax the rest of the evening because I definitely need that. And I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning for Immersive Chips Monday, unless I totally space and forget, and in which case I'm sorry in advance. Hopefully I won't. See you tomorrow.